Hello, today we'll be going through practice questions 1 to 10 for the AWS Solutions Architect Professional exam. Let's begin. A company is running a two-tier web application in an on-premises data center. The application layer consists of a single server running a stateful application. The application connects to a PostgreSQL database running on a separate server. The application's user base is expected to grow significantly, so the company is migrating the application and database to AWS. The solution will use Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL, Amazon EC2 autoscaling, and elastic load balancing. Which solution will provide a consistent user experience that will allow the application and database tiers to scale? The correct answer is C. Enable Aurora autoscaling for Aurora replicas. Use an application load balancer with the round-robin routing and sticky sessions enabled. Because the application is stateful, each user's session data must remain tied to the same EC2 instance throughout their interaction. Sticky sessions on an application load balancer ensure that a user's requests continue to reach the same instance, maintaining session consistency. The round-robin routing algorithm evenly distributes new sessions among instances, allowing the environment to scale out as demand increases. For the database layer, Aurora supports only one writer, so you cannot scale writers horizontally. Instead, enabling autoscaling for Aurora replicas allows the database to scale read capacity automatically when user demand increases, ensuring consistent performance during traffic spikes. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Network Load Balancer. It operates at layer 4 and does not support HTTP-based sticky sessions or round-robin routing. It is better suited for TCP/UDP workloads, not web applications requiring session persistence. B. Aurora Writer Autoscaling. Aurora supports a single writer per cluster. Writers cannot be autoscaled. Only read replicas can scale automatically. D. Aurora Writer Autoscaling with NLB. This option is invalid because Aurora writers cannot scale horizontally, and an NLB cannot handle session stickiness or HTTP routing. Therefore, the correct answer is C. A company wants to use a third-party software as a service application. The third-party SaaS application is consumed through several API calls. The third-party SaaS application also runs on AWS inside a VPC. The company will consume the third-party SaaS application from inside a VPC. The company has internal security policies that mandate the use of private connectivity that does not traverse the internet. No resources that run in the company VPC are allowed to be accessed from outside the company's VPC. All permissions must conform to the principles of least privilege. Which solution meets these requirements? The correct answer is A. Create an AWS Private Link Interface VPC endpoint. Connect this endpoint to the endpoint service that the third-party SaaS application provides. Create a security group to limit the access to the endpoint. Associate the security group with the endpoint. AWS Private Link enables private connectivity between VPCs and supported AWS services or third-party SaaS applications without using the public internet. It uses interface VPC endpoints, which create ENIs inside your VPC, providing private IP connectivity to the SaaS service within AWS's internal network. This solution satisfies the company's security requirements because traffic stays entirely within the AWS private network. Access can be restricted by security groups to enforce least privilege. The third-party SaaS provider offers an endpoint service, and the company simply connects via an interface endpoint in its own VPC. Why the other options are incorrect? B. Site-to-site VPN. Although VPN provides encrypted connectivity, traffic still traverses the internet. This violates the company's policy against internet traversal. C. VPC peering. VPC peering doesn't scale well for SaaS consumption and requires overlapping CIDR considerations. It also doesn't support granular service exposure like Private Link, which aligns with least privilege principles. D. Create a private link endpoint service. The company is the consumer, not the provider. The SaaS vendor already hosts the endpoint service, so the company should create an interface endpoint, not an endpoint service. Therefore, the correct answer is A. A company needs to implement a patching process for its servers. The on-premises servers and Amazon EC2 instances use a variety of tools to perform patching. Management requires a single report showing the patch status of all the servers and instances. Which set of actions should a solutions architect take to meet these requirements? The correct answer is A. Use AWS Systems Manager to manage patches on the on-premises servers and EC2 instances. Use Systems Manager to generate patch compliance reports. AWS Systems Manager provides a unified way to automate patching, configuration, and reporting for both on-premises servers and EC2 instances. With Systems Manager Patch Manager, you can apply patches according to approved baselines and schedules. It also offers compliance reporting, allowing you to view the patch status of all managed instances, both on-premises and in AWS, within a single dashboard or exportable report. This meets the company's goals, a single tool to manage and report patch compliance across hybrid environments while ensuring centralized visibility and automation. Why the other options are incorrect? B. AWS OpsWorks. OpsWorks is a configuration management service based on Chef or Puppet and is not designed for unified patch management or compliance reporting across hybrid environments. C. Amazon EventBridge plus Amazon Inspector. EventBridge can trigger patching, but Amazon Inspector is used for vulnerability scanning, not patch compliance reporting. This combination doesn't provide a single centralized patch report. D. OpsWorks plus X-Ray plus OpsCenter. X-Ray is used for tracing and debugging distributed applications, not for patching or compliance. OpsWorks is again not a patch compliance tool, and this setup does not satisfy the reporting requirement. Therefore, the correct answer is A. A company used Amazon EC2 instances to deploy a web fleet to host a blog site. The EC2 instances are behind an application load balancer and are configured in an auto-scaling group. The web application stores all blog content on an Amazon EFS volume. The company recently added a feature for bloggers to add video to their posts, attracting 10 times the previous user traffic. At peak times of day, users report buffering and timeout issues while attempting to reach the site or watch videos. Which is the most cost-efficient and scalable deployment that will resolve the issues for users? The correct answer is C. Configure an Amazon CloudFront distribution. Point the distribution to an S3 bucket and migrate the videos from EFS to Amazon S3. The performance issues are caused by high traffic and large media files being served directly from Amazon EFS through the web servers. EFS is optimized for shared file storage across instances, not for delivering high-volume static content like videos. The most cost-efficient and scalable way to serve large, frequently accessed static assets is to store them in Amazon S3 and distribute them through Amazon CloudFront, a CDN. CloudFront caches content at edge locations, reducing load on the origin servers and providing low latency access to users worldwide. This approach scales automatically and eliminates the need for expensive EFS throughput modes or additional compute scaling. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Enable maximum I/O for EFS. This increases performance but also significantly raises cost. It does not solve global latency or caching issues since users still access content directly from EFS through the web servers. B. Use instant store volumes and sync to S3. Instant store volumes are ephemeral and data is lost when instances stop or terminate. Managing sync operations adds complexity and doesn't scale well for high traffic workloads. D. CloudFront in front of ALB for all site contents. This helps cache dynamic and static web content, but the main bottleneck, large videos stored on EFS, remains. Migrating videos to S3 and serving them directly via CloudFront is far more efficient. Therefore, the correct answer is C. A software company has deployed an application that consumes a REST API by using Amazon API Gateway, AWS Lambda functions, and an Amazon DynamoDB table. The application is showing an increase in the number of errors during put requests. Most of the put calls come from a small number of clients that are authenticated with specific API keys. A solutions architect has identified that a large number of the put requests originate from one client. The API is non-critical, and clients can tolerate retries of unsuccessful calls. However, the errors are displayed to customers and are causing damage to the API's reputation. What should the solutions architect recommend to improve the customer experience? The correct answer is B. Implement API throttling through a usage plan at the API gateway level. Ensure that the client application handles code 429 replies without error. The issue is that a single client is overloading the API with excessive put requests, causing errors that degrade service for others. Since the API is non-critical and clients can tolerate retries, the best approach is to limit the request rate per client while still allowing retries. By setting up a usage plan with throttling in Amazon API Gateway, you can enforce request quotas and rate limits per API key. This ensures that no single client can overwhelm the backend Lambda or DynamoDB resources. When the rate limit is exceeded, API Gateway returns a 429 response. Clients can be configured to catch this response and retry after a delay, preserving a good customer experience and protecting your backend systems. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Implement retry logic with exponential backoff. This helps on the client side but does not prevent server overload. The core issue is excessive traffic from one client. Throttling is required at the API level. C. Turn on API caching. Caching helps get requests, not put requests, since put operations modify data and cannot be cached. D. Implement reserved concurrency for Lambda. Reserved concurrency limits or guarantees Lambda execution capacity but doesn't address excessive API calls or improve error handling. It only controls function level scaling, not per client fairness. Therefore, the correct answer is B. A company has created an OU in AWS organizations for each of its engineering teams. Each OU owns multiple AWS accounts. The organization has hundreds of AWS accounts. A solutions architect must design a solution so that each OU can view a breakdown of usage costs across its AWS accounts. Which solution meets these requirements? The correct answer is B. Create an AWS cost and usage report from the AWS organization's management account. Allow each team to visualize the CUR through an Amazon QuickSight dashboard. The AWS cost and usage report provides the most detailed billing and usage data and can be generated only from the management account in AWS organizations. The CUR automatically includes cost and usage data from all member accounts in the organization. By creating the CUR centrally from the management account, you can ensure complete and consolidated visibility across all AWS accounts. You can then use Amazon QuickSight to visualize and filter costs per OU or per member account, giving each engineering team a breakdown of its own usage. This approach is centralized, scalable, and follows AWS best practices for large organizations managing costs across many accounts. Why the other options are incorrect? A. CUR for each OU via Resource Access Manager. CURs cannot be created per OU or shared through AWS Resource Access Manager. CURs are generated only at the account level, specifically from the management account. C. CUR in each member account. Creating CURs in every member account adds unnecessary duplication and management overhead. It also fails to provide a consolidated organizational cost view. D. CUR via Systems Manager. AWS Systems Manager does not handle billing or cost reporting. It manages operational data, not financial data, so this option is invalid. Therefore, the correct answer is B. A company is storing data on premises on a Windows file server. The company produces 5 GB of new data daily. The company migrated part of its Windows-based workload to AWS and needs the data to be available on a file system in the cloud. The company already has established an AWS Direct Connect connection between the on-premises network and AWS. Which data migration strategy should the company use? The correct answer is B. Use AWS Data Sync to schedule a daily task to replicate data between the on-premises Windows file server and Amazon FSx. Because the source is a Windows file server, the appropriate destination in AWS must support SMB protocol and Windows file system semantics such as access control lists and NTFS permissions. The AWS service that provides this compatibility is Amazon FSx for Windows file server. AWS Data Sync is purpose-built for automated, high-performance, and secure data transfer between on-premises storage and AWS file systems. It supports scheduled synchronization, incremental updates, and metadata preservation, making it ideal for daily replication of 5 GB of new data. This setup works seamlessly over the existing AWS Direct Connect link for efficient private transfer without using the public internet. Why the other options are incorrect? A. File gateway. A file gateway exposes S3 as a file share, but it's not a full Windows file system. It doesn't preserve NTFS permissions or integrate with Active Directory in the same way FSX does. C. AWS Data Pipeline. Data pipeline is used for data processing workflows, not file replication or storage synchronization. It's not suitable for migrating or syncing Windows file server data. D. AWS Data Sync to EFS. Amazon EFS is a Linux-based NFS file system. It doesn't support SMB or Windows ACLs, making it incompatible with Windows file shares. Therefore, the correct answer is B. A company's solution architect is reviewing a web application that runs on AWS. The application references static assets in an Amazon S3 bucket in the US East 1 region. The company needs resiliency across multiple AWS regions. The company already has created an S3 bucket in the second region. Which solution will meet these requirements with the least operational overhead? The correct answer is C. Configure replication on the S3 bucket in US East 1 to replicate objects to the S3 bucket in the second region. Set up an Amazon CloudFront distribution with an origin group that contains the two S3 buckets as origins. This solution provides multi-region resiliency with minimal operational overhead. S3 cross-region replication automatically keeps the secondary S3 bucket synchronized with the primary one, ensuring data redundancy across regions without needing custom scripts or manual uploads. Amazon CloudFront with an origin group can automatically fail over to the secondary S3 bucket if the primary one becomes unavailable, ensuring continued content delivery to users with no code changes. This approach is fully managed, scalable, and requires no manual intervention during failover. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Manually writing objects to both buckets and managing Route 53 weighted routing adds unnecessary complexity and maintenance overhead. B. Using a lambda function for replication is redundant because S3 already provides built-in cross-region replication. It increases operational effort and cost. D. While CRR ensures data replication, requiring manual application updates during failover introduces downtime and operational overhead, violating the requirement for least operational overhead. Therefore, the correct answer is C. A company is using AWS organizations to manage multiple AWS accounts. For security purposes, the company requires the creation of an Amazon Simple Notification Service topic that enables integration with a third-party alerting system in all the organization's member accounts. A solutions architect used an AWS CloudFormation template to create the SNS topic and stack sets to automate the deployment of CloudFormation stacks. Trusted access has been enabled in organizations. What should the solutions architect do to deploy the CloudFormation stack sets in all AWS accounts? The correct answer is C. Create a stack set in the organization's management account. Use service managed permissions. Set deployment options to deploy to the organization. Enable CloudFormation stack sets automatic deployment. When using AWS CloudFormation stack sets with AWS organizations, the correct way to deploy resources automatically across all member accounts is to 1. Create the stack set in the organization's management account. Only the management account can create service-managed stack sets that target the entire organization or specific organizational units. 2. Use service-based permissions. With trusted access enabled between AWS organizations and CloudFormation stack sets, AWS automatically handles the required IAM roles in each member account, removing the need for manual role creation. 3. Deploy to the organization and enable automatic deployment. This ensures that the stack automatically deploys not only to current accounts in the organization but also to new accounts that are created later. This approach gives centralized management, scalability, and automatic propagation with the least manual effort. Why the other options are incorrect? A. You cannot create a stack set from a member account when using service managed permissions. Only the management account can create organization-wide deployments. B. Self-service permissions require manual IAM role setup in each target account and do not support automatic deployment across an organization. D. Creating stacks in the management account limits deployment to that single account. It does not propagate to member accounts. Drift detection is unrelated to the automatic organization-wide deployment requirement. Therefore, the correct answer is C. A company recently deployed an application on AWS. The application uses Amazon DynamoDB. The company measured the application load and configured the RCUs and WCUs on the DynamoDB table to match the expected peak load. The peak load occurs once a week for a 4-hour period and is double the average load. The application load is close to the average load for the rest of the week. The access pattern includes many more writes to the table than reads of the table. A solutions architect needs to implement a solution to minimize the cost of the table. Which solution will meet these requirements? The correct answer is A. Use AWS application autoscaling to increase capacity during the peak period. Purchase reserved RCUs and WCUs to match the average load. The workload has a predictable weekly peak and a steady average load for the rest of the week. The table is write heavy and the peak is temporary, so provisioning for the peak all week would waste cost. By using provisioned capacity mode with application autoscaling, DynamoDB can automatically scale the read and write capacity units up during the weekly peak and back down afterward. You can then purchase reserved capacity to cover the consistent baseline usage at a discount and pay on-demand rates only for the brief scale-out period. This combination delivers the lowest cost while maintaining performance and compliance with predictable scaling needs. Why the other options are incorrect? B. On-demand capacity mode. This automatically adjusts to traffic but is more expensive for predictable workloads with known access patterns. It is ideal for unpredictable or spiky workloads, not weekly predictable peaks. C. DAX with reduced read capacity. DAX only accelerates read operations. Since the workload is write heavy, DAX provides minimal benefit and doesn't reduce write costs. D. DAX plus on-demand mode. This combines two unnecessary cost-increasing features for a workload that is primarily write-heavy and predictable, making it the least cost-efficient choice. Therefore, the correct answer is A. We have come to the end of today's video. If you liked the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Goodbye.